What is up, Flash fans? My name is BobaTalks and welcome to my Was DeVoe disappointing in Season 4 video, and is he possibly still alive? Which I want to talk about towards the end of the video. But the topic and the conversation I want to start with you guys is, was Season 4's villain disappointing? I'm going to talk from the top of my head just about DeVoe and how I personally don't think he as a villain was necessarily disappointing, but how the tone and everything else of the show ultimately let him down, and especially with that ending bit, which will lead me into how he could still be alive. But of course, everybody, if you like The Flash and you want to see more videos just like this, why not subscribe to this channel, because I will be posting more, especially over the summer, with, you know, The Flash Season 5 still being a little bit of a way away. And also like this video to make sure everybody sees it, share it with your Flash buddies, and let's get, as I said, the conversation going out of, did you enjoy this season's villain? Now, The Flash Season 4 introduced something that they've never really done before properly, unless you think about alchemy, but that doesn't really count, in the sense that we didn't get a non-Speedster villain, and I'm sure you've all heard the news that in Season 5, we will be getting another non-Speedster villain. Maybe it might be another similar alchemy role, to another bigger role, to like another meta, but ultimately not another Speedster. We're not getting like another variant of Zoom, or a variant of the Reverse Flash, or anything like that. We might be getting Cicada, whatever you want to call him. It doesn't really matter. We're not talking about that. But the reason why I mention it is because I feel like if Season 5 is much better than Season 4, I honestly don't think that was Clifford DeVoe's fault. Now, I remember when Season 3 ended and we all got very, very heavily teased by Abracadabra, if I remember correctly, about DeVoe, and then the videos were coming out very earlier on, compared to with Season 4, we didn't even get the villain tease that was meant to be included in that final episode. Now, personally, as much as I seriously do not like Season 4 in comparison to the other seasons of this show, and honestly, I'm a huge Flash fan, but I have so many goddamn issues with Season 4, but one of them wasn't Clifford DeVoe, unless you count the way he died, if that makes sense. I personally thought that not only was DeVoe a really relatable villain, he was a guy who came from a good place, wanted us to do good in the world, and I know that isn't unique, but I feel like a lot of people out there are saying, oh, The Flash Season 4 not only sucked, probably some people are saying because of the tone and everything like that, which is very, very true in a sense, but also the villain was crap. It wasn't a Speedster. We need more mystery. We need another Speedster villain. I wholeheartedly disagree. Now, the reason why I'm not necessarily worried about this, but if Season 5, which is quite far away in terms of finishing, let alone starting, if that is very successful, I don't want DeVoe to be shat upon, just because Season 4 obviously is looked upon by most fans as the weakest season of The Flash, because I really thought that DeVoe was good. And as I mentioned a second ago, a couple of reasons for that. And as I mentioned before, when we were all speculating, is the Thinker the Flash Season 4's villain? It seems very likely after he said, you know, Reverse Flash, Zoom, Savitar, and then DeVoe. So back then, people were like, how can this guy hold up a whole season and blah, blah, blah. But I felt like I was one of the few people who was saying that I definitely think the Thinker could. I loved the idea of the Flash not being more of a fisticuffs battle or a race of freaking speed, which has always been. It was like a battle of intellect and trying to outsmart the smartest guy, or, you know, not the fastest man alive, but the smartest man alive. But unfortunately, with the many issues of Season 4, whether that being tone and just the silliness and not so dramatic, you know, genuinely dramatic moments that we definitely had more in the earlier seasons, even though Season 1 was more uppity and they said they were going back to more of a Season 1 vibe, it was not as lighthearted and goofy as this. And I know people were coming out with explanations of the reasons of the goofiness, but I don't care. I really couldn't give a crap about that, because it was way too lighthearted, way more, as I've seen some people put it, family friendly, which isn't a bad thing, but it isn't what the show was in Flash Season 1, 2, and 3. It just literally wasn't. And I feel like, even though a lot of people identified that, I feel like a lot of people are still sticking it on, oh yeah, but also the villain was crap. No, I honestly think that if you think about it seriously for a minute, if we have like the Season 1, 2, or even 3 vibe, where some people, and I do admit, maybe it was a bit too dark and mopey, but even if we had those 3 seasons vibe, well, take your pick, it would have been so much more of a better season, and people would have loved the Thinker even more. I feel like it would have suited it more rather than this season's tone we got, well, this season with this villain. I feel like it was just a bad mix. And maybe this was always destined to happen, like the show introducing something it's never done before with its main villain, its main storyline that, you know, Barry Allen will be battling against, all 23 episodes long, was introduced. And think about it, they've never done it before. They might probably not get it completely right, and not only that, they were introducing a complete tonal shift. I feel like maybe it was, I don't know, in some people's eyes, I was about to say destined to fail because some people love this season, but maybe it was destined to not be as successful as potentially what season 5 will be. With all this feedback they've probably got from fans now, I'm not saying season 5 is going to be amazing because how do I know that? But I am just hoping that season 5 will be very good because they might shift back the tone to what we actually all goddamn want. And then a non-Speedster villain can be proved that, you know, this show doesn't have to rely on Speedster villains for it to be successful. But as I just mentioned in season 4, not only have they never done a non-Speedster villain, so that is very newbie feeling for them. They might not execute in the most perfect way, but they were changing up the whole entire show. So as a result of that, season 4 happened. And, well, as most of us agree, but not all of us, everyone, you know, is entitled to their own opinion. Most of us agree that it was just not the Flash that we like best. So I guess what I'm trying to say and how I started this video, I don't think DeVoe was disappointing. I really liked his story. I really liked the fact that he was this human guy who wanted to better the world. He wanted to enlighten the world, but through his pursuit of becoming more smarter so he could help the world, he became more unsympathetic and more out of touch to human emotions. You know, he basically, as I kept saying in my reviews, became more machine than man, to the point where he almost saw the world as a robot. It's like, well, if this isn't like this way, I'm just going to do it, kill these people out of the way. This needs to happen so I can better the world. Whereas if he did that as his normal Clifford Professor self at the start of the season, he wouldn't have done that. He wouldn't have murdered people. So that's what I really liked. There was a beautiful story behind that of him and his wife, but then he got ill, obviously through the thinking cap. It was decelerating, whatever you want to say, his cells. He was just going downhill. And then, you know, the season happened. More and more episodes happened. But then obviously this coincided with the absolute goofy tone of the season, the more comedy, the everyone cracking jokes, but and then also introducing a character which was controversial to say the least, who was just solely comedy 95% of the time. Not saying Ralph Dibny is bad, I'm just saying with everyone else, you know, having this character change basically, unless not counting Cisco and Harry because they've always been like that, and then adding Ralph Dibny, it just added this almost completely forced element in the show, which really made me unenjoy it. Then coinciding that with the villain, it just, you know, I feel like people were blaming the villain when it freaking isn't the villain. It was the writing of each and every episode, the tone of the show, the characters changing. God, I could go on forever. And if people say Cicada was amazing in season 5 and also the tone changes, then I will 100% say, yeah, sure, the villain might be great, just like I think the Thinker was great, but I would have to say it's probably due to the tone change as well, and everything else maybe coming back down to earth like it was in season 2 and season 1, and I guess arguably points in season 3. And let's talk about, is DeVoe still alive? I would like to think that he is, because I thought his ending was ridiculous. Now, I'm not talking necessarily about the Ralph Dibny bit, because I'm not necessarily all for that. I didn't really enjoy his character through season 4. I get it. I get every perspective, but I still decide I'm not a huge fan. Even though I'm going to see him in season 5 and whatever, I'm guessing, I like the version of Ralph we've got now. But yeah, I guess the way DeVoe went, he made that miscalculation of, you know, and how Ralph Dibny's emotions and everything like that came out stronger. Okay, fine, beautiful, I guess, whatever you want to say there. But when, you know, he popped up in the chair as that artificial intelligence, I've spoken to a lot of people and we all assumed that for the rest of the episode he would be defeated in a second edition and he'd be causing a little bit of havoc as an AI and it'd be a cool little nod to the comics. But all it was literally one nod and then he was unplugged. So ultimately, yes, you could argue that the Thinker was defeated by the true sheer will and love of Ralph Dibny and whatever. But he was, you know, when he touched his chair, he was in his chair. He was, you know, AI, and I bet he had a lot of calculations and probability-ness to this, which is why he probably designed it so he could still be backed up, could still come back one day. So I just refuse to believe that Marley's freaking unplugging it like you do to your freaking laptop defeats DeVoe. Like, DeVoe's backup plan. So there are a couple of interesting ways that you can look at this as well. So maybe he isn't alive because since, you know, when he got unplugged, then there was the backup plan of that satellite coming to Earth, and that would have caused planet-wide extinction. So what, you know, so what advantage would DeVoe have there? You know, so why would he still be alive if the planet, you know, there was nothing left to enlighten? Maybe you could argue it wouldn't make everyone extinct, so he could kind of start the human race again. I don't know. This is where writing comes in. So I try and offer, you know, how the fact that the planet-wide extinction means DeVoe might not be alive, but maybe I just choose to believe that it wouldn't kill everyone, and maybe he could still carry out his enlightenment plan by governing a new bloody race of people. I don't know. Maybe that was his backup plan. But honestly, prefer the villains for the most part anyway. Not all the villains, because sometimes it just can't work. Most of the villains in the Flash to be alive, so they can come back one day. That's how they come back in the comics one day, unless you're counting like a reverse Flash, time remnant-y, or whatever kind of twist in how he can come back. That's cool. I love that. But I prefer villains not to die, just so, yeah, like that somehow they might escape, somehow they might do this, somehow they might do that, which means they can have a whole freaking chapter again, a whole comic book arc, a whole season run again, in theory, in the future, to come back and battle Barry Allen. And I want to believe that DeVoe, with that backup, for when he touched the chair, programmed his brain or his brain pattern or whatever, the way he thinks, his consciousness almost, into the chair, which makes him live as an artificial intelligence, with a nod into the comics as well, and how he's come back through that before as well. And through Marley's just unplugging him, is that really the end of him? Because surely that chair had Wi-Fi, surely that chair had something where it would transmit to another location, and then that would be a whole other ordeal. And in terms of that, people could just argue, but why wouldn't the Thinker just come up again straight away? Well, maybe it's just a situation where he has to figure it out a way for him to come back. Maybe somebody needs to activate him. Maybe somebody needs to do something like that to bring him back. But I don't know, guys. I would love to know your thoughts on that in the comments below. Do you think DeVoe is really dead? Now, I'm not saying he's going to come back in the Flash at all. Probably never again on the show. Maybe if we're very lucky in seasons and seasons time, we might get a nod at the whole AI thing. But probably not. But in terms of our own comic book logic and our own, like, let's say, like, behind the scenes story, do you think he is still alive after Marley's unplugged the chair? Like, do you really think that, you know, when he appeared up and he was just like, haha, look, I'm still here, and then all it took is an unplug? No, I don't like that one bit. And also, guys, from my little ramble and rant earlier, do you think that DeVoe was the most disappointing part of Season 4? Or do you agree with me in terms of how he wasn't? And how it was everything else in Season 4? Mainly, sure, there might have been one or two moments where you may have thought this DeVoe storyline part in this episode was silly, but do you not agree in the sense of everything I mentioned earlier and how generally the whole season let down the villain, the non-Speedster villain, and how I feel like if Season 5 is really successful and there happens to be a change of tone back to Season 1 and 2's tone, and 3's even arguably, then I would choose to believe that, yeah, surely Cicada, if that's the villain of Season 5, has a part to do with that. He might be an amazing villain. But I also have to think that it probably has to do with the fact that the show has gone back to the vibe everybody freaking wants. And the vibe, but if you don't know what I'm talking about Episode 7, Episode 15, mainly. Those were the episodes of Season 4 where I felt like it felt just like the Flash I know and I love. Yes, Episode 15 was filler, and stuff like that, but that doesn't mean that they can't have that stakes of the world on Barry Allen's shoulders. Iris West being a reporter again and not the leader of Team Flash. No freaking comedy everywhere all the freaking time. Could you just imagine the season with a more serious vibe like the previous seasons? It would have been brilliant. It would have been so good. And I just don't think DeVoe is to blame for that. I think he was a great villain. But anyway, guys, thank you for putting up with my ramble. I just felt like I wanted to talk about this, get it out there. And if you made it this far in the video, thank you so much. Maybe leave a like on it if you did enjoy it. And if you're new to this channel and you made it this far as well, why not subscribe for more Flash videos like this? As always, I want to say thank you to all my patrons. Be sure to check out the link at the top of my description to go to my Patreon page. Check it out. Check the tiers. Check out the rewards you can get for pledging to them. I also have social media links in there. I recommend following me on Twitter. Twitter. Join my Discord server. The link to my Discord server is also in the description. All you have to do is click on it, and then you can talk to all the subscribers and the Boba community there about The Flash and any other show or movie that you want to. Other than that, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.